Hey, what's up, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Creepy and Paranormal Show. Today, we are going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into the fascinating world of Ed and Lorraine Warren, who, if you don't know who they are famous paranormal investigators who inspired the Conjuring film universe. This was a really interesting episode to dive into to find out more information about Ed and Lorraine that you don't always see or hear of in the movies. So as always, this show today is sponsored by Invoice Cloud as well as Homeground Coffee. You'll be hearing a little bit about them later on in the show, but as you know, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
That's the hard part.
That's the very hardest part, is to get rid of them. You can invite them in. It's the easiest thing in the world. We could take this table right here, take an upside down glass, take a magic marker, write letters and numbers on there, and communicate. Foolish. That would really
We've
be.
seen some of the results of people who have delved into Ouija board sessions. One young girl, 13 years old, always stands out in my mind. She was communicating with her 10-year-old cousin. They lived in Oxford. And one night they got a spirit on the board that said it was an 18-year-old boy that had been killed by the police in a rape attempt. That was a lie. It was what we refer to as an incubus. An incubus is a spirit that's inhuman, diabolical, that never walked the earth. But it attacks the female physically and sexually. You can, for a moment, and I know you can't, imagine a monster entering your home, eating you physically, raping you, sodomizing you for hours. You have a bad idea of an incubus attack, and that's what this girl was dealing with.
Now, before Hollywood turned their ghost stories into blockbuster movies, Ed and Lorraine Warren made a name for themselves by investigating cases of paranormal hauntings and happenings. In 1952, the married couple founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, and in the basement of their research center, they created their very own occult museum, horrifyingly adorned with satanic objects as well as demonic artifacts. But the center's primary purpose was to serve as the base of operations for the couple. According to Ed and Lorraine Warren, they investigated over 10,000 cases over the course of their careers with doctors, nurses, researchers, and police at their assistance. And both Warrens claimed to be uniquely qualified to investigate strange and unusual phenomena. Lorraine Warren said that she could see auras around people ever since she was 7 or 8 years old. She was scared if she told her parents they'd think she was crazy, so she kept her powers to herself. But when she met her husband Ed Warren, she was 16. He knew there was something different about her. Ed himself said he grew up in a haunted house and was a self-taught demonologist as a result. So, Lorraine and Ed Warren pulled their talents together and set out to investigate the paranormal. What they found is enough to keep you up all night. In a locked glass box in the occult museum, there's a Raggedy Ann doll named Annabelle with a positively do not open warning sign on it. The doll may not look menacing, but of all the items in the occult museum, that doll is what I'd be most frightened of, said Tony Spira, the Warrens' son-in-law. According to the Warrens' report, a 28-year-old nurse who received the doll as a gift in 1968 noticed that it started to change positions. Then, she and her roommate started finding parchment paper with written messages saying things like, "Help me, help us." As if that wasn't strange enough, the girls claimed that they didn't even have parchment paper in their house. Next, the doll started showing up in different rooms and leaking blood. Unsure of what to do, the two women turned to a medium, who said the doll was being occupied by the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. That's when Ed and Lorraine Warren took an interest in the case and contacted the woman. After evaluating the doll, they came to the immediate conclusion that the doll itself was not in fact possessed, but manipulated by an inhumane presence. The Warrens' evaluation was that the spirit in the doll was looking to possess a human host, so they took it from the woman to keep them safe. While they were driving away with the doll, the brakes in their car failed several times. They pulled over and doused the doll in holy water, and they say after that, their car trouble stopped. According to Ed and Lorraine, Annabelle the doll continued to move around their house on their own too, so they locked her in the glass case and sealed it with a binding prayer. But even now, visitors to the Warrens Museum say that Annabelle continues to cause mischief and may even take revenge on skeptics. One couple of non-believers reportedly got into a motorcycle accident soon after visiting the museum, with the survivors saying they had been laughing about Annabelle just before the crash.
Everybody has their own morning routines, but on the top of my list is coffee. Strong, hot black coffee. I physically can't start the day without a cup. However, sometimes life gets in the way and you're forced to buy a cup of coffee while on the road. And if you're like me, you struggle to find one that tastes good and is affordable. Well, now there is a one-stop solution for you. Homeground Coffee. The name is brilliant and so is the service. Situated at Benoni Northern Sports Ground, it's a nice central point for your morning commute. And why not get a delicious muffin or pie to go along with it? Homeground Coffee is the perfect go-to, and I advise you strongly to give them a try. When you do, let them know that I sent you. Find them on Facebook at Homeground Coffee as well as Instagram. That's Homeground Coffee, HOMEGROUND.
After Annabelle, it didn't take Ed and Lorraine long to land more high-profile cases. While the Perron family served as the inspiration behind the film The Conjuring, the Warrens saw it as a very real and terrifying situation. In January 1971, the Perron family, Carolyn and Roger, and their 5 daughters moved to a large farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island. The family noticed strange occurrences happening right away that only got worse over time. It started with a missing broom, but it escalated into full-fledged angry spirits. In researching the home, Carolyn claimed to discover that the same family had owned it for 8 generations, during which time many died by drowning, murder, or hanging. When the Warrens were brought in, they claimed the home was haunted by a spirit named Bathsheba. And in fact, a woman named Bathsheba Sherman had lived on the property in the 1800s. She was a Satanist suspected of involvement in the murder of a neighbor's child. Whoever the spirit was, she perceived herself to be the mistress of the house, and she resented the competition my mother posed for that position, she said. According to Andrea Perron, the family encountered several other spirits in the house that made their beds levitate and smelled like rotting flesh. The family avoided going into the basement because of cold, stinking presence. The things that went on there were just so incredibly frightening, Lorraine recalled. The Warrens made frequent trips to the house over the years that the Perron family lived in. However, unlike the movie, they didn't perform an exorcism. Instead, they performed a seance that had Carolyn Perron speaking in tongues before she was allegedly thrown across the room by the spirits. Shaken by the seance and concerned for his wife's mental health, Roger Perron asked the Warrens to leave and stop investigating the house. According to Andrea Perron's account, the family finally saved up enough to move out of the house in 1980, and the hauntings stopped there.
Today's sponsor is called Invoice Cloud. Now, this is really awesome if you're an entrepreneur, small business owner, or even a freelancer. You know how difficult it is to manage and then create those invoices for your customers. But with Invoice Cloud, you have everything you need to create simple, professional estimates on the fly. It's easy to use and understand, and getting rid of all the nonsense so you can have more time to do what matters most, which is to grow your business. Invoice Cloud allows you to add your company details, logo, customer information, as well as products, making it a breeze to send estimates to your clients anytime, anywhere. Now, if you want to start your free 7-day trial and get invoicing in just under 5 minutes, all you need to do is head over to invoicecloud.co.za and boom, you are sorted. That's invoicecloud.co.za.
Though their other investigations remain intriguing, the Amityville horror case was Ed and Lorraine's claim to fame. In November 1974, 23-year-old Ronald DeFeo Jr., the eldest child of the DeFeo family, murdered his entire household in their beds with a .35 caliber rifle. The infamous case became the catalyst for the claim that spirits haunted the Amityville horror house. In 1976, George and Kathy Lutz and their 2 sons moved into the Long Island house and soon believed a demonic spirit was residing there with them. One night, their final night there, they say banging as loud as marching bands emanated throughout the house, and after 28 days, they couldn't take it anymore and fled their home. Ed and Lorraine visited the home 20 days after the Lutz had left, and according to the Warrens, Ed was physically pushed to the floor, and Lorraine felt an overwhelming sense of a demonic presence. Along with their research team, they claimed to capture a picture of a spirit in the form of a little boy on the stairway. The story became so high profile, it launched its own conspiracy theories, books, and films, including the 1979 classic, The Amityville Horror. Though some skeptics believe the Lutzes fabricated their story, the couple passed a lie detector test with flying colors, and their son Daniel admits that he still has nightmares about the horrifying things he experienced in the Amityville horror house. In August 1977, the Hodgson family reported strange things happening in their house in Enfield, England. Knocking came from all over the house, causing the Hodgsons to think perhaps burglars were prowling around their residence. They even called the police to investigate, and the officer who arrived is said to have witnessed a chair rising and moving on its own. At other times, Lego and marbles flew across the room and were hot to the touch afterwards. Folded clothes leapt off tabletops to fly around the room. Lights flickered, furniture spun, and the sound of barking dogs emanated from empty rooms. Then, inexplicably, a fireplace ripped itself right out of the wall, attracting the attention of paranormal investigators from around the world, including Ed and Lorraine Warren. The Warrens, who visited Enfield in 1978, were convinced that it was a real poltergeist case. Those who deal with the supernatural day in and day out know the phenomenon are there. There's no doubt about it, Ed Warren is quoted as saying. Then, 2 years after they started, the mysterious activity known as the Enfield haunting abruptly stopped. However, the family maintains that they didn't do anything to stop it. Through the years, the Warrens performed all of their paranormal investigations free of charge, making their livelihood from selling books, movie rights, lectures, and tours of their museum. Ed Warren died from complications following a stroke on August 23, 2006. Lorraine Warren retired from active investigations shortly after. However, she remained as a consultant to the NSPR until her death in 2019. According to the Warrens' official website, the couple's son-in-law Tony Spera has taken over as director of NESPR and head curator of the Warrens Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. Many skeptics have criticized Ed and Lorraine over the years, saying they're good at telling ghost stories, but lack any real evidence. However, Ed and Lorraine Warren always maintained that their experience with demons and ghosts absolutely took place as they described. Whether or not their stories are true, it's clear that these stories that the Warrens made their mark on the paranormal world. Their legacy is solidified by the dozens of films and television series that have been created based on the many eerie cases. So there you have it, folks. That is the story of Ed and Lorraine Warren. I'd like to know from you firstly, do you believe in the stories that Ed and Lorraine claim to have happened? And secondly, what is your favorite story that you have heard of Ed and Lorraine? Yes, there have been thousands of investigations and I only covered a couple in this episode. But what is your favorite episode? Or favorite story, I should say. For myself, it's definitely the Enfield Haunting. I remember watching that movie and thoroughly enjoyed it and remember how creepy it was. It really just felt real, that movie. For me, it was definitely one that stands out. The entire, Conjuring universe of movies is fantastic. They all follow a very similar pattern and tie into one another, and I absolutely love the Conjuring universe. So I think that's where we're going to wrap up today's show, and I hope you have enjoyed the episode. If there's anything else you'd like me to cover, I've got an episode coming up on UFOs and some really crazy top secret information that was leaked to myself. Quite dangerous information actually, that someone went great lengths to get for me. So looking forward to dropping an episode on that. But like they say at the end of my show, don't forget to look under your bed when you go to sleep tonight.